This is one of their mobile kitchens, and they actually
is that even some what I call habitual
beautiful Stop and Shop in the Wilton penalty, but it was actually a tax, and that it. Absolutely. What's the name of the show? Good evening once again, and welcome to the Marty Heiser Show. We have an incredible show lined up for you tonight. We are going to see a form of culture, dance, the Irish dance acted out here at a world-class level. And I'm most excited about Lucy Lohman, because she is a resident of Ridgefield, Connecticut. And as we all know, all the children in Ridgefield are above average, well scrubbed, and headed for big things. And Lucy is just one example of that. She is going to share her talent with Irish dance, and we're going to learn a little bit about that. And then after that, we're going to be talking to Susan Conway and Peter Scalzo with a cancer support group from Walnut Hill Community Church. Peter Scalzo has an incredible testimony as a cancer survivor, and just how it affects his relationship with the Lord and what this cancer support group could do for you. If you have friends, family, or you're dealing with the scourge of this disease, just know you don't walk alone. There are groups available, including at Walnut Hill Community Church right in Bethel behind the Big Y, and they're going to talk a little bit about that cancer support group and their personal journey dealing with this. I want to just start briefly, because it's a tragedy that happened, and I don't mean to create a bummer, but this thing that happened in Barcelona hit so close to home. My wife and I were able to visit Barcelona just this past January, and that same street where the terrorist struck today was a street that we walked down. So when we saw the pictures of that terrorist attack that just unfolded a matter of hours ago, our heart went out to those people. Would that this scourge of terrorism would abate and finally disappear. I know we've had imams from the local mosques and Muslim centers on, and I know that the local Muslim community decries this. They cringe every time it happens, and I just hope that civilized society will be able to somehow overcome that. So our hearts and prayers go out to those innocent people in Barcelona, out just for an evening stroll on the Trambala. And it was the same road, that little walkway, actually big walkway, that my wife and I were on not a few months ago, and our hearts go out to them, and we pray for an end to this scourge. But now, it is a thrill of mine to introduce you to Craig and Christina Ashurst, and if that name sounds familiar, it's because they head up the Ashurst Academy for Irish Dance. First, they're going to share with you some dances, or maybe tell us a little bit about it, and then we're going to interview them, and especially Lucy Lohman, and she's going to be coming in and just telling us what this Irish dance means for her. So I would just like to give it to Craig. Take it away and show us what you're going to be doing. Incredible, incredible. Okay, now next up, who do we have?
Next up we have Lucy Lohman from Bridgefield.
Lucy Lohman.
All right, she's going to dance for St. Patrick's Day, which she did at the regional championships last year in Providence, Rhode Island. And she placed 11th out of over 60 dancers as only an under 7. So, you ready? All right, here we go.
Excellent, excellent. Very good, very good.
Well done, Lucy. Awesome job.
That was very good. And we're going to get to talk to Lucy a little bit later as well.
Yeah.
And just hear a little bit about that. Okay, and what else do you have for us?
All right, well, we have one last dance for you guys. Miss Christina and myself are going to dance a dance that we choreographed for a singer, Michael Londra from Wexford. He does a lot of shows around the country. So here we are. Let's take it away.
Thank you very much. As they come over here, you know, you were written up, or there was a show about you on the news, and I'm just going to play that if we can get that up on the screen, where you were interviewed by a local newspaper reporter and just talked about your background and how you met and some of the things having to do with river dancing. It's very difficult, isn't it? It's very physical.
Yeah, Irish dancing is pretty physically demanding, but
Yeah.
it's a wonderful art form. It's very unique. You get to do heavy shoe dancing, light shoe dancing, Kaylee's, group dances. I'm a little out of breath.
Yeah, catch your breath. We'll go to the video if we can set that up, and we'll watch this as far as where you were on local TV. I don't know if you remember that. It was on Channel 61. It was really good.
St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, so hopefully they had a scene from a bar, and then it went into your dance studio. So as soon as we have that, we'll play that. But it's very interesting, like I said, with this movie Angela's Ashes and Frank McCord, and the history of Irish dancing. I found it, fascinating to me. I don't know. Are we able to play the video, Mike? If we can. Oh, here we go. Okay. Here we go. This is very high tech, our system here.
This morning's cruise in Connecticut, we are cruising to the Trinity Bar and Restaurant.
Okay, everybody hold on 1 second. This will just take a second. Because you're right here. Oh my, here we go. Okay.
Even with new dates at Ryan. Christopher, Ryan, you got a really fun assignment this morning, I have to say.
Yeah, guys, we have quite the crowd here. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you guys. Chaz and AJ are here. They've been having great food and drink all morning, but of course, what is Irish without a little Irish dance? This morning we are cruising Connecticut all the way to Newtown to the Ashurst Academy of Irish Dance. Take a look.
5, 6, ready, go. Dee-dee-da-dee-dum-da-da-dum. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. Da-dee-da-da-dee-dum-da-dum. Fantastic. My mum was born and raised in Dublin. My sister was born there, and apparently I hid in the boot of the car.
Did you know what he meant there when he said the boot?
It's taken me a while, but I'm getting all the lingo now.
I just wanted to make sure. Okay, continue.
Like, you just can't stop moving your toes, and it's just such a unique art form. We met on tour with Riverdance in 2009. I think it was in Texas. It was
Glad they agreed there. That's always a good thing. So you must have been quite impressed by his moves up there.
I was. Yeah, he's pretty talented, not too shabby. Yeah.
Ryan, remember, we need you to really cross those feet over, okay?
More like that, right?
Yeah, like really overcross it. You're doing great. It's very easy to spread your passion to these wonderful students when you're working with such lovely people.
My name is Katie, and I've been dancing for 10 years.
We're a family now, and we're able to create that family vibe here with a lot of positivity.
We just opened in June of last year, so we're just shy of 90 students right now. A lot of our dancers went to the regional championships and did really well and placed on the podium.
It is like a big goal for me to do this when I'm older because it's just, I can't imagine my life without it.
Okay, all right, pretty good stuff.
Well, there you have it. Yeah,
looks
they
like
go
I'll
into
have-
this like bar scene with some rock and roll guys or something like that. But we want to focus on the cultural aspect.
He was a good sport, I must say.
Yeah, the reporter there.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, it was good. He danced and
Got up,
everything.
he
He talked
tried
about
it, he
this.
had a laugh.
Okay.
It was
All right,
awesome.
now, when you say river dance, that's like a big deal. Wasn't that on Broadway and traveled the world? Is that, you were both on the same troupe? Or
Riverdance is basically what brought Irish dancing to the world scene.
Huge.
So, it used to be if you had an Irish background or you lived in Ireland, you might do Irish dancing, but now there are Irish dancing schools in Germany, Russia, Hungary, all over the world. Everybody loves it, and a lot of that is due to Riverdance. It started as one dance in the Eurovision Song Contest, and then people loved it so much it got turned into a full 2-hour show. And now it's been touring for over 20 years. And yeah, Craig and I met there, I think in 2009.
Yep.
On the road in North America, and
in Texas.
In Texas.
So this was one of the dates you were doing as far as for Riverdance.
We'd be in a city for maybe 2 or 3 nights, and you move on to the next one.
How many shows did you do for Riverdance?
Okay, so 8 shows a week for 7 years.
Holy smokes!
I'm not that great at maths, but
that's a lot. Well,
yeah,
so 8 times 5, about 400. That's a lot. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows, and it was it's great. Like it was, we'd worked all our lives to get there, so it was one of those things. Yeah, it was tough, but you're constantly inspired by other people on stage. You're constantly, motivated by, they could be like young people like Lucy out there in the audience. So you get to a Sunday matinee and you're very tired, and then all of a sudden you're like, this is my job and I have the best job in the world. Like, let's just do this.
It's funny, there's the video, we were talking about this, and I'll just play this. We don't even need the sound, because I think the sound is like in Bulgarian. It's the only way I could find this video clip from the movie that I was thinking of. But this is a movie, Angela's Ashes. It was a book written by Frank McCourt talking about just being absolutely poverty-stricken in the back alleys of Limerick, Ireland, I believe it was said. And yet these people had no money, but they paid for their kids to do Irish dancing. With their last dollar, they didn't have enough money for food, they didn't have enough money for coal to heat their house, but they wanted to make sure that their children could dance these cultural Irish dances.
Well, it's really cool to see that.
Yeah, now, what is the history behind that? Or, I mean, I know we said there's sort of some apocryphal stories, but what are the stories? Why do they not use their arms? What are the origins of that? That was Angela's Ashes there. What are the origins of Irish dance?
Well, I'll let you take that one, Christina.
Well, I think there's a lot of different stories, but a lot of people, you know, in a lot of the Irish cottages, they'd have the doors where the top would open, and you know, you could open one half or the other.
Okay.
And I think there was a rule at the time they weren't supposed to dance, maybe, and so they thought if they didn't move their arms, they could still move their feet, and nobody would, you know, nobody coming by would know they were dancing. So it was them being sneaky.
Okay. So like the two kind of doors.
Yeah.
And so if you just stand there, you can be happy like a duck, like you know, swimming. He's all happy under the water, but above it, you're still
very stiff and serious, and nobody knows what's going on.
Okay. Is that the same story you heard?
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. Like I've heard a lot of different stories throughout the years, but I'm not sure where the truth lies in any of them. But
okay, now let me ask you this. River dance. You guys are like rock stars. Am I right? I mean, when you go to these places, do people want your autograph? Or like they think this is the greatest thing ever? Do you have young ladies like Lucy come up and say, "Oh my gosh, these guys are"?
Yeah, it's exciting.
I mean, what is that like?
Well, for sure. Like, and I think you have a as I was saying before, like you have a responsibility to do your job to the highest level, and it's enjoyable too. But it's also amazing to see the younger generation there coming to the stage door after a show, and yeah, they want your autograph, they want your photo, and we have an obligation to work together and inspire them so that Irish dancing can keep moving forward, and then future generations can do something like river dance again.
It's interesting, you know, I'm originally from Chicago. At Chicago Blackhawks games, now this is crazy, but at some point during the third period, there's this guy that comes out and all of a sudden starts doing a river dance. It's like the biggest thing. I don't know if you can really see him here. Hold on. This might not be. Just stay with me. Let me like fast forward here
There's a lot
to
of
where
Irish
they.
dancing around Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, they start doing the river dance, and everyone gets, you know, really wound up. And I'm thinking, this is a real cultural phenomenon. When all of a sudden Irish dancing is part of the Chicago Blackhawks between periods, and they absolutely go nuts for it. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Hold on, bear with me 1 second. Here. I think that this is a very bad dancer. I'm going to try and save you from that. But anyways, it happens, and you see it like all across the cultural spectrum. That's him doing it. I think he's intoxicated basically right now, so let's just forget the whole thing. Okay, Lucy, I don't want to overlook you because you did an unbelievably great dance there, and I thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Now, what made you want to do this Irish dance? What first caught your eye about it?
Well, my family is Irish, and my mom did Irish dancing.
Oh, she did? Did she do it growing up?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
What about all your friends in class? You have a lot of friends in class, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old were you? You were little, right? Yeah, you were really little.
Yeah.
Yeah, she progressed a lot.
And do you do any competitions or anything like that?
Yeah.
Really? Do you get scared a little bit before competitions?
Like the more you do, the more you get used to them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Now, when you drive down Main Street in Ridgefield, you know they have that one dance studio with all the ballet and stuff?
Yeah.
What do you think of ballet dancing compared to compared to Irish dancing?
Well, I like them both because I was just doing camp there today, but
And you did ballet dancing as well?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Very talented.
Very talented.
Yeah. She can do it all.
It's interesting. In preparation for this show, I watched that documentary on the world competition in Ireland.
Yep.
Did you see the one? It's a long documentary. But they talk about how it's really a whole family thing, especially when you go and you practice and then you do some of these various competitions. Yeah. What's the best part about river dancing or about Irish dancing?
Well, I really like the competitive spirit and that you get to have a challenge once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Do you have any brothers or sisters?
No, I'm an only child.
Oh, okay. But when you do Irish dancing, you have a bunch of friends that you do Irish dancing together. And do they come over and you guys practice and sit around and play video games? And
Well, sometimes we carpool to Irish dance camp, but
Wait! Irish dance camp? There's a camp too? Where's the camp?
Newtown.
Oh, it's in Newtown. Oh, so it's your camp. So it's like a summer camp. It's not a. So you just have practice every day or something?
Yeah, they come in for the week and they do a bit of an intensive program in the summer, and they learn a lot of choreography and work on their technique, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Okay, and then during the regular school year, how often do you do the practicing?
Well, usually I take classes during the school year, but I do try my best to fit a practice in every day.
Is that right?
She's very good at practicing.
Really? Yeah. Now, do your feet ever get hurt? Do they hurt sometimes or not really? Like, do you have blisters or anything?
No, not really. Because once I got one and I didn't notice it until I was feeling my heel in the shower and I just felt it.
Oh, then you felt, yeah.
That's it.
Well, that's great. Well, that's great. Now, how old are you?
I'm 8.
8 years old. And how long do you want to do Irish dancing? You think you're going to do it till you're 18, 28, or you can't think that far ahead?
I haven't thought about that.
Okay, well, let's go. All right, so Craig, tell me, okay, so you've been doing all these hundreds and hundreds and actually you were just were you a choreographer and a participant in, let's see, it was the Fusion Dance Fest 2017 hosted by Fusion Fighters. That sounds really cool. Yeah. But there you are, Craig Asher's right there. Quite a looker, I'll say. And you're the local girl from Newtown. You snagged him. God bless. This is exciting.
So the Fusion Fighters are a crew where they're Irish dancers, but they infuse it with choreography from other dance genres. And they have a big internet following and everything, and they put a lot of really cool videos out there. Well, it's funny you just showed the video of Angela's Ashes in Limerick. I actually just got in from Limerick last night because we were doing the Fusion Fest, they call it. So they get a bunch of kids from around the world and they put together a show in 9 days.
Yeah.
My role was to choreograph dance numbers for the showcase. And it went down really well. We had some of the hardest working kids in the world. It was really amazing to see them really pushing it for all day long for 9 days straight, and their legs were sore but their minds were strong, and they put on a really great show, and it went on you can check it out on Facebook. They did Facebook Live on the Fusion Fighters page, and it was a
Fusion Fighters. Is it?
Yeah, they're called Fusion Fighters.
So there's a competition on that one comes out and the other comes out, and then they get judged or kind of thing.
Nah, I'm not really sure where the name came from, but I think the fusion part of it is just because they infuse it with some funky choreography from other genres. But yeah, fighters? I'm not sure.
It's not well, I'm telling you.
We didn't fight. We had a great time.
and now the Riverdance, are there still touring groups that are going around doing Riverdance? Is it something that, if you Googled it, you could see where they're...
Yeah, I was just in Dublin there last week, and right now Riverdance is playing in the Gaiety Theatre in Dublin. Okay. And that's a 3-month stint. They just finished up a North American tour. Christina and I joined back with them for a show there last year in Hartford, so that was cool to kind of go back as alumni, I guess. Now that we're settled in the one spot, it's it's harder to take off, but it's definitely enjoyable to get back out there. So yeah, they're still touring.
All right, so just want to get a little more detail on how you first met. Did he catch his eye? Did he catch your eye? Kind of like that play, the chorus line. You pick out your favorite. Something like that.
I think tour is just such a unique environment to be in. So you're kind of tossed into a group of
you're around each other 24/7.
24/7 in the morning, at night, all day long.
That can be good and that can be bad.
It can be good. It can be bad. But for us, luckily, it ended good. And you get really close with everybody, and I think Riverdance has over 60 marriages now that they
Is
have.
that right? Interesting.
So,
Okay.
so I guess.
So there's no rules against, like, personal relationships or anything like that, or rule in the chemistry of the line?
Doesn't seem like it.
Evidently not.
if
there
there
are
was
rules.
60 of us have broken it.
So how did he propose to you? Did he do the right thing? Did he talk to your family first? Did he buy the ring?
did.
Did he get down? Really did everything?
Yeah,
by the
and then he proposed when we were on vacation in Disney World, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
How did that work? Like, you gave it to Mickey Mouse and he came up with the ring? Did he get down on one knee
He
in
did,
front
but
of
it
the
was,
castle? What happened?
No, it was just nice and it was at a resort, just nice and private and quiet, and yeah, it was.
And
really
you said
special.
yes.
I said yes.
And now you're settling down and you got this dance studio.
Yep.
And you're ready to raise a family now, right? Am I running a little bit too far ahead at this point, or is this kind of like none of my business?
No, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, you never know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Were you worried at all that she would say yes when you proposed?
Oh, I don't know. I think you second guess yourself, I guess. But she seemed pretty interested in the idea of getting married, so I got lucky, I guess.
There you go. Very good. Well, listen, thank you so much. It was wonderful to see your booth there at that Ridgefield. I don't know how I looked up. I said, no, this would be great for TV. And Lucy, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Mm-hmm. Is there any last words? If there's any other little girls out there that want to try river or want to try Irish dancing, what would you tell them?
Like, it's really good sport. Like, well, like,
You have a lot of fun, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if they want to and they're interested, just Google Ashurst Academy of Irish Dance. That's Ashurst, a good Australian name. Ashurst Academy of Irish Dance in Newtown.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Danbury and Southbury, we have classes as well. Yep.
In Danbury and Southbury, all over the region.
Yeah, we're in the Danbury War Memorial.
That's right, yeah, which is right down the street from here.
Yeah, just down the street, and then
Really cool.
also in Newtown, 3 Sim Lane, and then on Main Street in Southbury as well. So we have classes for, they can start from 3.5 and up. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
The one thing, and looking at some of the YouTube videos you guys have, is the joy, the sense of joy that comes with this dance, and the sense of joy you see in the kids,
Yep.
and how fun they're having, and the exercise. I mean, this is really a lot of exercise.
A lot of cardio.
A lot of cardio. So, listen, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Lucy, thank you. You were fantastic, and good luck with everything. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming on. Okay, next up, we are going to talk about kind of a tough issue. It's the issue of cancer. And I would imagine the people out there who are watching have had at least someone in their home, and that way. At least someone in their home. That's what we're done, that has been affected by this disease. I mean, the statistics are just overwhelming. But we have some members of Walnut Hill Community Church, Susan Conway and Peter Scalzo. Yes, that Scalzo of the Scalzo empire. Think real estate, think legal, think appliance stores, as I recall. But Peter Scalzo is here, and they're just going to share a little bit about their cancer journey. And what it's meant to them. It's interesting. We have a mutual friend. A shout out to John DePasquale, who has given me a list of questions that I should have thought of myself. But thanks to John DePasquale, shout out to him. We'll go through his list of questions as well. But I know at Walnut Hill Community Church, they have divorce help organizations. They have addictions. If you have habits, hang-ups, or hurts, and that is called Celebrate Recovery, and then we'll go from there. But yes, so we have Peter Scalzo and Susan Conway. Thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it. But how did you get involved with this?
So Marty, thank you for having us on the show today.
Sure. How about those Irish dancers?
They were just unbelievable. I have 2 daughters that did Irish dancing for about 12 years.
For 12 years?
Yeah. In fact, 2 of them danced with Christina with the, And
in that dance, did you?
well, it was a different dance school then, but it's quite a thing to do.
You know, it's
Irish
funny. You know,
dancing.
I think of like hockey parents, like the
Yeah.
hockey mom.
Yeah.
You know, the tough hockey mom, and they're taking their kids around to hockey. You know, ice skating rinks all across the tri-state area. But these Irish dancing moms and these Irish dancing, it's just incredible what they do.
It's very serious. There's a lot going on. They practice all the time. The fetches are huge.
Yeah.
So it was good.
But all the kids seem to be enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know, and they're certainly getting good exercise. Your kids got a lot out of it.
Oh yeah, loved it.
12 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Loved it.
Anyway,
So from that to cancer.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a segue, but I will say this. It's interesting because I got my Bible with me. There's a verse in, I believe it's in Proverbs, but it says, "A joyous heart worketh like a medicine." You know, and there's something to that. And knowing you very well, that's one thing I've noticed. There are peaks and there are valleys, but there's a sense of, dare I say, the presence of God, and a sense of my time is in His hands. I wouldn't wish this disease on anyone, but I do have a sense of joy for the days that I have, and my future belongs to Him. So there is sort of an undercurrent of joy. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
So let me start out, if it's okay.
Sure.
With just this is my second time on the show, so it's a pleasure for me to be here again, Marty.
Listen.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in.
So my journey started in 2005, and in 2005 I was diagnosed with a very high-grade and deadly cancer cell. I was in my 40s, in good shape, and didn't fit any of the risk parameters for this cancer. And I recall being in that doctor's office, getting this diagnosis, 6 children. I had a busy law practice, and didn't feel any joy at that point. And really, my wife was with me, and I was queasy and nauseous. I had to lie down because of the weight of this news. Went outside, sat on a curbside, and called my mom, who was really in the last 6 months of her life because she was on a terminal cancer journey. And we wept. And I think that that started a 12-year cancer journey for me, as you probably know, and I've had 15 surgeries. I've been told I have cancer 4 times it's happened, so it's been a very long journey for me. And I think that what started that in that first diagnosis, as far as what do you do, you're a person who has surrendered your life to Christ, and in comes this catastrophic news. So how do you handle it? And I think that questioning is okay. I mean, having doubts, asking the Lord what's going on, that was all part of my journey. Having fear and anger and sadness and working through those things. I found out that my cancer journey would be as much about transformation in my life as it would be about a physical journey. They've really gone hand in hand for me. Spiritual transformation along with a physical journey. And I had that surgery in 2005 down at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. I was down there 17 days, and God really showed up through that whole process. I have a lot of stories about that, but after I got out and started to go about my life again with all the follow-up tests that happen in your cancer journey, and Susan knows all about this because she's part of our cancer support group, but in 2006, 1 year later, a guy in our church at Walnut Hill Community Church was diagnosed with a very serious cancer, and someone gave me his name, so I called him. I reached out to him, and I said, "Would you like to pray?" That started a 6-year friendship, and he went to go be with the Lord 6 years after that, at the age of 52. But that friendship that we developed was about partnering with another person who shares the same issues as you do, and being an encouragement and getting down to those raw issues and tough questions, but encouraging each other. It was all about walking with each other. But in 2006-ish, the Walnut Hill Community Church had a survey done, and we found out the results of that survey was that 150 people approximately were either dealing with cancer or had family members or close friends dealing with cancer. Now, Walnut Hill Community Church has what, 2,800
Yeah.
people roughly. So we said to each other, we've got to start a cancer support group here at our church. And we said, well, people can just go to Ann's Place, and we love Ann's Place. Ann's Place locally, a great place. People from our group go to Ann's Place.
Right.
But we said, let's do something in the church where we can do a spiritual, this can be about a Christ-filled support group,
Right.
where we can gather together as Christians and just really go through the journey together. And the picture, and I'll end with this, the picture was that we would hook up our ship, our boat, to another boat where there's a huge storm and just ride out the storm with them.
Wow.
So that was the whole premise behind it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved? What's your story?
Well, my story is very similar. I was diagnosed with cancer in 2016, excuse me, 2015. And I really, I was a little bit off guard when I was first diagnosed with it. I was very busy in my career. You know, I was a divorced mother. I had 2 children, you know, in and out, and you know, just very, very busy. I was taking care of my mother at the same time. So I had a lot on my plate, and to be hit with a diagnosis of cancer just didn't fit into my scheme.
It was
right. So I was
wasn't
just
on your to-do list.
It so was not. So
Yeah.
I was like, I don't have time for this. You know, can't we just wait a little while? In fact, I remember speaking with my doctor and saying, I really can't do this right now. We're going to have to wait to 2016 to take care of this. So they agreed. They were very kind. I also went to Memorial Sloan Kettering, and they're fabulous people there. They're very smart. And they treated me, they worked with me, they held my hand, but what I really also needed was not only the medical end of expertise, I also needed spiritual partners on this. So I'm a member of the Walnut Hill Community Church, so my segue was very smooth and seamless. I was able to get into the cancer support group. I mean, just having that connection and that spiritual connection when you're going through something that's devastating. And Marty, you mentioned the divorce care group, which was equally important to me because I also experienced that as well. So, you know, whenever you have this massive albatross, I found that my church was able to, you know, lift me up and keep me very grounded through Christ and having that connection. So having the cancer support group through 2016, through the surgeries and the chemotherapy and the radiation and more surgeries, losing a job, you know, really going through quite an intense time. But you know, we had our brothers and sisters together that we were able to kick things off of, you know, ideas and thoughts and fears, hopes, you know, future planning. Unfortunately, memorial services, losing people to the cancer is difficult to digest. But what you do witness through this is the God-filled grace that these people have when they go to be with God. So it truly is amazing to witness that level of grace, that it just humbles you and it also fills you with hope. So I feel very, very fortunate, very blessed to have seasoned cancer mentors in my hand, in my grasp, and also have the ability to tap into something that keeps me grounded, which is the Bible. So I've been very fortunate.
There's a couple great verses that come to mind. One is a little known verse in Ecclesiastes that says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. For if either one of them falls, the one will lift up his companion. But woe to the one who falls when there's not another to lift him up.
Amen.
You know, and I really think, you're sharing about your life and at Walnut Hill, and I don't mean to just be, yay, Walnut Hill, because I'm a bit of a cheerleader, but really, we were never meant to do life alone. Yeah. That's my feeling. We were meant to do life together and do it in community. And really, from my perspective, that's what it means to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. You just don't have this kind of heavenly minded thing, but you're part of a family, and you have brothers and sisters, and go through things, and God meets them in a unique way.
Yeah.
I mean, this is getting really.
So can I share a story about that verse? So we had a fellow from our church who was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which can be a difficult diagnosis, come into our group. And when he came in one Sunday, we meet every other Sunday at 10:45, right in our church, but in a separate section where there's classrooms and meeting rooms. Anyway, he came into one of our cancer support group meetings, and he came in really weepy. And we had a couple people come in and pray over him, a couple elders, and this is how we started our meeting, which is not the normal way that we start the meeting. But this man was so devastated with his diagnosis, with the weight of this diagnosis coming down on him. So he came in, we prayed over him, and he sat and he really wept quietly. And so we started the meeting and did it our normal way, which is we go around, and if there's anyone new, we go around to each person and we share a brief history of what our journey is. And then we share prayer requests. Well, there were about 10 of us there that day. And he was last, and I intentionally made him last. But by the time we got around to him, he had his arm around somebody else on the chair, and he had a little smile on his face because he was not the only one going through this. He was hearing stories and people raising issues and being open and transparent and honest about their journeys. And by the time it got to him, he's like, wow, I'm in a group of people that share my same issues. I'm not the only one. You know, so it was a huge comfort for him. So that verse is a great verse about
and I mean, it gets to, it really gets to the level, I mean, these are like esoteric questions, like, why do bad things happen to good people? Why is there disease? Why? Where is this God of love you talk about when I'm suffering from cancer and I lose my job or I'm going through this? And I got to think that there's something greater at play here. There's a verse in 2 Corinthians. It says, "And the God of all comfort, who comforts us in our afflictions." And the idea there is, he doesn't remove all the afflictions and have life as just a bowl of marshmallows and everything's going to be fine and dandy. Come to Jesus and you won't have any problems. I mean, really, when you think of Walnut Hill Community Church, believe me, this is not the holier than thou, you know, you have to be perfect before you come. It's more like an emergency room in an urban center with people coming in with bleeding wounds and coming out of wrecks and everything. Just come. You know, when you really think about it, when you think about Jesus, that's who he hung out with. He had no time for the big, high and mighty religious leaders. It was the sinners and tax gatherers and prostitutes and those that were in trouble that came to Jesus. And I'd like to think that's a little bit how it is at Walnut Hill. You just come as you are. You don't think about like, oh, I got to get my life together and then I'm going to start going to church. No. Come right now. Come as you are, and we're here to help and serve the love of Jesus. But this verse is so key to what you're talking about. It says, "The God of all comfort, who comforts us in our afflictions, so that we are able to comfort those who are in any afflictions with the comfort with which we ourselves were comforted by God." So the idea is, it isn't like these afflictions aren't going to happen because they are. It isn't like the storms of life it's all going to be sun and roses from here on out. But what the promises that I understand from the Bible is that God will walk with you through those storms. And not just so you'll feel a little better about it, but so that you then can minister to others who are going through the same thing you're going through. And that makes life and the difficulties that you have, it gives purpose and meaning to it. You know, we're not just an accident of a godless cosmos where stuff happens, have a beer, and you're going to die. No, your life has a purpose. Even cancer has a purpose. I don't know, am I all wet on that, or what are your thoughts? This is getting a little esoteric, but what do you think?
I mean, my personal belief is that when someone surrenders their life to Jesus, makes that decision in their life, that basically they are transferred to his kingdom, and that if they do get a diagnosis like cancer, he doesn't cause it, but he has allowed it, and there's a reason, usually a purpose, and sometimes we may never find that out, but the group is there to really provide support for each other. I mean, we have people from diagnosis to passing all the time, or survival. We cry when other people cry. We laugh when other people laugh. Susan is a breast cancer survivor, and we have a number of women in our group that are breast cancer survivors. So when she speaks on an issue, and she's very open and transparent, you'll see other heads nodding along. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're going through.
And that's very reassuring, and it provides strength to others who don't have that at that point, and they appreciate that. They recognize that. So,
what would you say to another lady who's raising a family, single parent, going through difficulty, has cancer? Is there a hope line you can send to that kind of thing, or what would you say?
well, there is a hope line. We all stay connected through the week. We have a lot of prayer, so they know they're not alone. I could, as an example, although she did pass, when I did lose my job, it just so happened that this woman was an HR director, and she shared so much information with me. She prayed with me. She pointed me in the right direction when I didn't know where to turn. So I try to take on that same responsibility because I feel obligated to do that. So if somebody else is in a position like that, I'm now able and equipped to help them. So that's just how I kind of like in my mind play it. If I see someone who needs that level of care and assistance, we pray. We're very prayerful, but we are also very concrete in how we can help them.
And practical.
It's very practical because
you need rides to chemo.
Right. Meals.
Meals.
We did a lot of Meals on Wheels, because some people just, they have families and they're transporting their loved ones to and from, and if things get lost, how can we help them? So we're there to provide meals to them. We listen, we call them, we pray for them. There's different ways you can reach out to people.
So if someone's out there and they know a family member, and by the way, Walnut Hill has churches in Waterbury, Derby, Seymour, Bethel,
New Milford.
Yeah. And it's kind of all satellites. It's a bit of a network. So if you know someone that's dealing with cancer and has these unique issues, and they're not plugged in somewhere. They're like in Ecclesiastes, the one that fell, but there wasn't someone there to pick them up. Just Google Walnut Hill Community Church and put in, is there a cancer support group?
It's under the Care Ministry, Cancer Support Group.
Okay.
I think, Marty, one thing is that we become a family in our group because we are completely open and honest with each other about what we're feeling. If we're having a bad time, that's what we talk about. We're having a bad time. And but the beauty is that, like that verse you read, that we do give the same comfort that we've received from the Lord in our journey, we give out to other people who are on the same journey. We don't preach at them or lecture. It's all about coming alongside, putting our hand on them and saying, you know what, I'm here. I'm going to walk this walk with you. We have one of our cancer support people right now is in the hospital and will not get out of the hospital. And I was with him this morning, and there's some other people from our cancer support group with him now, but it was all about going there and putting my hand on his hand and being there and praying with him and the family and encouraging him in his journey. And that's what you were saying too. That's what Christ does for us. I mean, we have eternal life. We have eternal life. And that's the hope that we can share with others. But meanwhile, while we're going through this journey, we just want to be real. We want to be there for them. We want to help. I mean, I'm still in the midst of my 12-year cancer journey. I've been diagnosed with a further cancer diagnosis. I have metastatic cancer right now, but it's my pleasure and privilege to still go out and minister to people as they minister to me. So,
You had a good report, though.
I had a good report recently.
I remember you shared. You went in
Yeah.
And you're oncologist? Oncologist?
Yeah, oncologist.
Was crying. Like,
Yeah.
we got the report back, and he's crying.
Yeah,
That's not what you want to see from your doctor when they get the reports back.
Right. My surgeon's fellow came in, and the news back in February was, this is it. This is, we're going to try. You can't do chemo, radiation, or surgery anymore, so we're going to try a new drug, immunotherapy on you, but there's not much we can do for you. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And then in June, I had a scope, and my surgeon was dancing up and down saying, God is good. So, you don't know what twist and turn your journey will take.
Yeah.
But for me personally, Jesus will be Jesus no matter what twist or turn it takes,
There's one, and I'll close with this. It's the classic story of the thorn in the flesh, because we have the Apostle Paul, and again, Christians aren't, they're not protected from any storms in their life or difficulties. Certainly not Paul. He wrote most of the New Testament. He says, because of the surpassing greatness of the revelation, for this reason, to keep me from exalting myself, there was given me a thorn in the flesh. Some people thought it was his eyes, because they said, if I could give my eyes to you, I would have. So there was some sort of ailment, a thorn in the flesh. It doesn't sound good. He said, but concerning this, I entreated the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me. So you have cancer, you say, God, heal me, just heal me. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. Power is perfected in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, I will rather boast from my weaknesses, that the power of Christ may dwell in me. Therefore, I will be well content with weakness, with insults, with distresses, with persecution, difficulties for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. And to get to that point, sometimes, I guess, it's easy for me to say because I haven't had to go through the cancer, but God is at work. God is still God, and He's maybe developing Christ-like character in us, and it's kind of frightening to think about, but it's good to know that we can count on Him. Listen, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. And if you have anyone that has issues with cancer, please come to Walnut Hill. It's a very welcoming place. It's right behind the Big Y. You can't miss it. You'll see some of these lovely faces there as well. As we are on live TV, we just had some breaking information about Barcelona, where my understanding is that there has been additional attacks, and let me see if I can get some of this top stories that are coming in. But my understanding is that there was 7 additional attackers that were just unleashed. We all know about the attack that took place down the main thoroughfare. This is like the great walking lines in Barcelona. Ones that I had the privilege of actually going to recently, just this past January. And my understanding is that there have been additional attacks that have taken place there, and you can once the Marty Heiser show is over, you can turn to the other stations, but there were, let me see if I can get some of the information coming live off the feeds, but it sounds like they were comparable to the attacks that had just happened. Spanish police stop a second attack, 13 are killed. In Barcelona, Spanish police say they have killed 4 people in Cambrils to stop what they said was a second attempted attack after the early one in Barcelona. Police warned people to stay off the streets, with shots reported in the port of Cambrils, Cambrils. 13 people died and dozens were injured when a van plowed into crowds in Barcelona, Las Ramblas area on Thursday afternoon. And that it goes on to say the Prime Minister is calling it a jihadi attack. Another attacker was injured by police gunfire, and police spokesman said. The Spanish media reported that Cambrils attackers struck several people with a van early on Friday morning. So we're talking, it's Friday over there now. This is live television, leaving them injured in what appeared to be an attempted replication of the Barcelona attack. The tourists and locals fled when a rented vehicle sped down Las Ramblas in the center of the city, mowing down people. 2 people have been arrested, but police say neither were the driver who fled on foot. The so-called Islamic State has said they were behind the van attack at the Las Ramblas, saying in brief statement carried in a news agency, Islamic State soldiers. The group gave no further evidence. But here we have it. There was yet another attack now in Spain. This is kind of hot off the press, and so we like to bring you the news when it does happen. I had a friend who worked at Cantor Fitzgerald. His name was Bo Costas. He was a good friend of mine. He was engaged to be married to Suzanne. She was a gorgeous girl from Sweden. Bo was in America on a basketball scholarship, was playing basketball at a small college, Christian college in Northwest Iowa. When he heard about Service Unlimited, my painting company, this is going back, he went and he worked with my painting company for 5 years because he was attracted to the Big Apple and all that New York represented. From there, he went on to become a maitre d' at Tavern on the Green restaurant, if you remember that from different movies. It was right on Central Park. And then he put himself through Baruch College and got his MBA. On September 11th, 2001, Bo went to the 98th floor in the first tower of the World Trade Center, where he worked for Cantor Fitzgerald. His fiancée, after he left, was asleep and didn't know until a knock came at the door and said that there had been an attack at the World Trade Center. This hits home for me when I hear these radical Islamic terrorist attacks that have continued. It strikes home, it strikes a chord, it brings me right back to 9/11 and Bo Costas, because Bo Costas was snatched from my life, his fiancée's life, his family's life, and all for what? What is the point? And then when you see what happened in Nice, 94 people mowed down by a car, and now in Barcelona, a gorgeous city, the same attack. Allah Akbar? What the hell are you talking about? Driving a truck and mowing down innocent people, women, children, just out on a Thursday evening. The Spanish, they love their tapas. It's like hors d'oeuvres. They love their Spanish wine. They're joyous people. So this isn't religion against religion. This is barbarism against civilization. And when are we going to unite and say enough is enough? Brussels, Paris, 9/11, July 7th in London, and now Brussels, just added to the list. Thanks for watching the Marty Heiser Show. We'll have another show next Thursday night. Hopefully there won't be any more terrorist reports by then. Good night.